Hello, Ukulele Bandits. So, very exciting times ahead of us. Later on this month, we'll be able to start getting the group back together and playing together in public. And I know that some of you guys have had some small gatherings in between the sessions we do on Zoom. But obviously, when we get back together, we're going to be playing the songs that we've been learning in the videos and trying to actually piece them together and play them as a group well that we can start actually performing them. And there will hopefully be some performance coming up at the end of the year. So I'm looking forward to it, looking forward to getting back to whipping you guys into shape and playing together. And I will say that Zoom's been brilliant because we've been able to communicate to each other weekly basis, motivate each other, keep our hands in, if you like. And so it's been very useful. But playing live in a group, as some of you may have found out, is a little bit different. So there will be some restrictions when we get together, but for the most part, we'll be able to perform in small groups together on a regular basis. So hopefully that will last and keep going. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you some exercises I'd like you to work on that will help you out immensely when you're playing in a group. And for this, I've got my group ukulele player simulator, which is actually a loop pedal. So I'm connected to a loop pedal, and what I can do for this, I can actually stomp a beat, 1 2 3 4 1 2, and then I can record myself, so I can strum along. And that will play that back. 1 2 3 4. And over the top, I can record me playing other rhythms. So I get carried away with this thing because it's quite a nice thing to do. You sit there layering, and about a million of you playing loads of different parts. It's good fun. So that's going to be my ukulele simulator, and what I'm going to do is give you some exercises that I think will help. I know will help when we get back together again. So let me get on to the next scene. So here we are. I've got this rhythm. I've used this before in my group, so some of you may be familiar with this sheet. And I have used it in maybe some of our videos before, and I really do like this. It's from Ukulele Go, which is a good website. It's got some great ukulele patterns and exercises and tips and all sorts on there, and you can just download this. It's for people to learn, so shout out to them. This is going to be what I'm going to use for some of these exercises. It's just a demonstration of the sort of thing you should be doing when you're playing in a group. You should be really aware of where the beats are, the counting, the tempo, all those sort of things, because it makes a difference. It makes it sound musical or not musical. If everyone's doing their own thing and they've kind of got their own rhythm in their head and they're playing that individual song in their head rather than listening to each other and following a count, following a beat or rhythm, it will sound like a mess. So that's what I'm going to focus on probably for our first few sessions. So you can see I've got the rhythm chordy can up here. So if you're not quite sure what the arm movement is or what I'm doing with the fingers in terms of strumming, which finger I'm using, thumb, finger, or etc., keep an eye on that top left camera. And then if you just want to see my mouth move around, you can obviously watch at the bottom corner. You should be able to see, I'll hold this up as well, so you should see it a bit clearer as well. So we're not going to run through all those strumming patterns. There's about 30, I believe. No, 32, look, it says 32 ukulele strums, how funny. So there's 32 patterns there on the sheet. And I'm not going to play all of those. I'm just going to demonstrate what I think is a good thing to practice when you're looking at playing in a group. So if you're singing and playing, you might have your own rhythm, and I would say the singer is the leader. So if you imagine that the leader has got their rhythm that they're playing, we could all copy that rhythm and say what you're playing. Oh, I'm doing down, down, up, up, down, up, and then all do exactly the same thing. And if we played it exactly synchronized perfectly like a robot, which is not going to happen, that would be immense. It would sound quite full and quite big. Realistically, and you've probably seen this if you see Cynthia Lynn's channel. You see she's got a quite accomplished group of people she plays with, and a lot of them do play the same strumming pattern. Some of them don't, but most of them play the same strumming pattern. They're really quite in click with each other. And then if you see more beginner groups, or groups where there's a lot, especially when there's a larger amount of people, they try and all keep that same rhythm. It sounds a bit meshy, it's all a bit lost, they can't hear the rhythm so well. And that's kind of the sort of thing you've got to be aware of when you're in groups. And what I like to do is I like to have different people doing different rhythms, or at least complementing each other, and not trying to do exactly the same thing. For that to work, you need to be able to count the beat and stay in time and be really aware of that. And a lot of our songs are very, very, very simple, and there's quite a few on my videos that you'll be able to follow and use this with. And I'm going to put a video out, I think, of a simple song that we can do this with after this video as well. So this one, if we start with number 1, if you imagine the leader, if you like, is just playing a very basic C, then an F, then C. I'm just doing C and F, 2 chords. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to keep it very simple with chords. I'm literally going to play C, 2, 3, 4, and F, 2, 3, 4, and C, 2, 3, 4, and F, 2, 3, 4. That's our beat. I'm counting that beat. I'm feeling that beat. I'm making sure I'm aware of that beat. Over the top of that, as long as you're aware of where the changes and where the 4 beats are, any of those patterns could be played over the top. Any of the patterns that you see there. And what I think is a good exercise is if you just like pick one, randomly pick one, say your favourite number, or just pick your house number, or whatever it is, pick anything, and try and fit that over that main pulse beat. And the pulse beat is really important because it's the count, it's the 4 beats in the bar, if you like. So I'm going to layer that down, just a C for 4 and an F for 4. And what I do is I'm going to do it nice and slow. Okay, so I'm going to let that loop. That's our... So that's the main pulse that we're following. We're all... When we get our lead in, so this is when someone strums a chord progression at the beginning of the song, I'll do 4 or C, or I'll do a couple of bars of the intro. That's where you should be counting and following the beat and making sure you're in time. And then if I was to take, say, let's take, let me take number 5. I'm going to randomly pick out a few numbers here. So 5, I know you got the black. This is why I like this sheet. Sorry if you can't see it, if you're colourblind, you have trouble with this, but the black one is these strong ones here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's the main pulse beats. That's what you'll hear in the strum do. So now if I put the upstrokes, these red ones in, 1, 2 and 3, 4, and 1, 2 and 3, 4, and... So let me put that in over the top. So it goes... Now, I'm letting this loop go and it's still recording. 1, 2 and 3, 4, and 1, 2 and 3, 4. And I think it picked up some talking as well. I can hear it underneath, but that's okay. So that's 2 people playing. Now you can hear it sounds like it's pretty much in time. Those pulse beats are there. But what's happening is, so if you hear this, play along with this video, pick a rhythm and see if you can make sure, first of all, you can get the 1, 2, 3, 4 in time, and then start with the other rhythms. Now if I take rhythm 10, now look at rhythm 10. Rhythm 10 is, I've taken a lot of those downbeats out. So I'm taking out the 2, the 3 and the 4, and I'm just playing on the 1 there, 1 downbeat. So that's 1 and 1 and 1 and 1 and. So I'm going to play that along. select a rhythm pattern that was different to the original pattern, and what I've done is I've played it along with someone else's pattern. But what they have in common is the fact that I'm playing them in time. I'm playing them on the beat, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's 3 people playing, and it sounds musically in time and together because it's following the same 4 beats. Now, if one person was playing too fast, it would sound messy. So, right, you need to sort your life out. Let's get you in time. Focus on that beat. 3, 4. You could do something if you're at the very beginnings of playing. I'm going to stop it for a minute because I'm going to be shouting in a minute and lose my voice. If you're started at the very beginning of your playing and you're learning the chords and you're concentrating on chord changing, rhythm can be a problem because you're thinking so hard about the chords that the rhythm comes second. You kind of almost like your rhythm playing is struggling to keep up because you want to get the chord changes. So this is where I would say if you're at the beginning, look at number 17. That's doing the first and the third beat. Okay, so for a beginner, keep it simple. Just pick one of the beats to play in, or a couple of the beats, or as many as you can do, but focus on getting those chord changes in the right place. So that, if I look at number 17 up here, I'm going to go, it's on the first and the third beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm counting in my head. When you get used to the beat and where it is, you stop counting. And if you see a lot of people feeling it or stamping their foot or moving their head, that's a physical count. That's what a lot of musicians do to keep in time, to keep the feel of the beat. You know, when you're starting out, if you don't know where you are in the beat and you can't count, obviously most of us can count to 4, that's not me being silly, but if you can't keep the count and you don't know where you are, it's so easy to get lost and it sound a mess. And so these are really cool exercises. These are useful on any instrument, on the piano, on the guitar, all these same ideas of keeping time, keeping count, and then playing on different parts of the beat and still changing at the right time. It was very useful. So anyway, so when I'm going to drop in this number 17, to do that I'm going to split my loop pedal into a second grouping, if you like. I'll actually play let's have a look. There you go. There you go. So that's the first one. So now what I've done is I'm going to record along with that. I'm splitting the loop pedal into 2 parts. And I'm going to do that number 17. So I'm going to imagine I'm someone playing something a little bit simpler and just trying to add. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can hear it's there. Now what I'm going to do now, you can hear what I've done is I've dropped that first track and I am that 1 and the 3. Let's bring in the other 3 people that we've got, the other 3 rhythms. So we've got a layer now. We've got four parts. 4, is it 1? I can't remember, I lost track already. I'm going to stop those for a minute. I've lost. I think it's 4 people. So the idea is that we've got that main pulse, then we've got the next rhythm. We did that down, 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 up. Number 5, wasn't it? Yeah, down, up, down, down, up, down, and then we did a number 10. That's right. So there's 4 parts, and then it goes down, up, 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 and then we've got our 1, 3. So I've got 4 different rhythms and they're all in time, they all work together. And this is the sort of thing I'm talking about when we're in a group, that you might want to copy that person that's leading, and if everyone copies them and doesn't quite get it right, it will sound like a mess because the rhythms will be out of sync and the music won't sound musical. If you just focus on maybe practicing 2 or 3 different rhythms. You might go through these and go, oh, I like that one, I'm pretty good at that one, that's 6 and 20 or whatever it is, and then have a couple of very, very simple ones as well. So if you get complicated chord progressions, you think, right, I'm going to do a simple rhythm. What you've got to remember is when you're in a group, just like an orchestra, and I've said this before many times, forgive me, I'll say it again on video. When you hear an orchestra, you don't have the violin playing every note that's in the piece of music. You don't have the trombones doing every part. You don't hear all the string sections just copying each other and doing the same thing. You hear them doing individual little parts, and it becomes one whole piece of music where all the different instruments are throwing in different expressions at different times, and some instruments have more focus on one point, and that makes the piece of music. And if you've ever listened to an orchestra live, it sounds crazy when you're in a room. It's a beautiful sound when you've got all those instruments all complementing, and they're weaving in and out with different expressions. And so I'm not saying that we're going to be able to do that with a ukulele club, but what we're going to say is, what I'm going to say when we get together is that, for example, one of you guys would be doing a very basic rhythm. I just want you to keep to that rhythm. And then say if I pick one from the sheet, number 17, I just want you to keep to that. And then someone else who might be playing for a lot longer, played for a few years, do a rhythm that's a little bit more sophisticated. And then what will happen is, because of these different layers of rhythms, as long as you're playing in time, it will complement each other. So don't try and play anything that's too complex for you. Try and keep it very simple, especially to start out with. And if you're singing and playing, you're leading, you're kind of the one, you're doing the main rhythm. That's the rhythm, that's the time, the tempo that we've got to follow. Okay, hopefully all this makes sense so far. I'm going to add a few more things to it. So I'll add a couple of fancy pants things to it now. So what I've got is this piece of music. That's the very basic rhythm. 1, it's the 1 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now what I'm going to do now is add the other beat. The other 3 rhythms. So there's our 4 rhythms, and I'm going to start layering on top things that can be done to make it sound quite interesting and musical. So let's start. I'll do a rake. Sounds quite nice. Maybe I'll do a slightly percussive thing where I tap and I'll play a more muted rhythm. So I've got a bit more rhythm to it. Arpeggios. So this is where we pick the strings individually. Turn down those first 3 strumming patterns so you can hear those last few are done. So now you can hear the percussive, you can hear the arpeggio. So it's very musical, very musical. So over the top, I'll play just a few notes from the C scale. So if there's a little riff or a pattern, I'm just making it up as I go along, as I do. So I'll do a reggae thing. Strokes. I think I'm up to about 10 people now. double time rhythm. Didn't record that one. There we go. Okay, so that was pretty good. That was pretty good fun. So the loop was split into two, and there was like 4 or 5 people. Like if there was 4 or 5 people on my left doing a few things, 4 or 5 people on my right doing a few things. I think that ended up with something that was quite interesting, very musical. It sounded, especially here with the speakers, it sounded quite full and very, just very cool, really. So the idea is that when you get a group of people together, you don't really want to all be doing the same rhythm. It's kind of a good place to start to, you know, have something, a rhythm to follow. But certainly as you progress, you want to have a few of your own rhythms and experiment and try them out. That's a great thing. When we get into a group, we'll be able to try these rhythms out. We'll be able to play different things together. And while the song's going, please feel free to experiment. Maybe take that rhythm sheet with you and go, oh, that rhythm that I practiced at home, I'm going to try that over the top. First of all, get the count in your head, the 1, 2, 3, 4. And obviously the great thing about the ukulele is most songs we do are very simple. There are a few complicated songs, but especially these very simple songs where they're just 2 or 3 chords, even 4 chords, and it's the same chords all the way through. It's in the key of C. You get very comfortable with these chords. That's when you want to look at trying to make it a little bit more interesting and sophisticated. But in a group, you don't have to be doing anything that difficult or too sophisticated individually, because the beauty of it is when everyone's playing something interesting, it becomes on a big scale very interesting, all these different things going on. But is these little parts that you can do to contribute. If you nail, even like that arpeggio where I was just going 1 and 2, and I'm literally on an arpeggio going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, just keeping 4. I'm actually doing it in 8th notes. It'd be over, if it was like 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but they're 4 counts, if you like, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so I've still got my 4 count, except for I'm putting 8 beats or 8 notes in each bar, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then that was played over the top of the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and so you can see that on these sheets. In fact, if you look at rhythm 3, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that's if you were strumming what I've just played as an arpeggio, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and if I do it as an arpeggio, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and it's me playing individual notes to the same rhythm as that strumming pattern. So if someone's strumming 1, 2, 3 and 4, and you wanted to do the notes separately, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I'm picking individual notes out, and it sounds very musical, arpeggios. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's over the top of the same strumming pattern. So someone's strumming that and you want to play something a little bit interesting, and you can break the chord up into notes as opposed to just strums. This 32 ukulele strum sheet, like I said, is on Ukulele Go, but I've got copies of it that I can I think actually it's on our ukulele site. There's a link to it, so just to get it there. And obviously what I would say before we play together live is pick songs that you're fairly comfortable with, and then start trying to play different rhythms, not the same rhythm, and also play simpler rhythms. If you're doing something, if everyone's doing that and they're not quite in sync, it would sound messy. So try and limit yourself. If you're singing, that's different, because you have to sing and play what's comfortable, and it's very difficult to play different rhythms while singing. I get that, so you'll be the leader. But if you're practicing, for example, if you know that we've been doing something like Stand By Me, for example, A minor, then F, G. So if you're not singing that and you know that someone else is singing it, practice doing take one of those rhythms. So I've got that at 11, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. So 11 goes down, up, 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 down, up. If you struggle with these rhythms, we can look at them in the scene session, or I can do a video on some of the rhythms and break them down. That's absolutely fine. I have done this actually in, I think, one of my sessions or other YouTube videos. But we're going to do this together as a group anyway. I'll set you some exercises and we'll pick a song and we'll play that. Let me try before I go. Just because I'm having fun with my pedal, I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to set up a new one, and I'm going to give it a go at looping around 10 or so parts. So I think the rule is I think we can have up to 10 people, and so I'm going to imagine that there's about 10 of us, and so. Do a bit quicker. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to C8 minor, F and G. So the leader's doing this. It's a bit slower, but that's fine. So C, 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 and A minor, F, G, and C. I'm going to loop that now. There's my C, and what I'm going to start doing is I'm just going to pick a number, and I will do maybe some arpeggio, some other things, and I'm going to start layering different rhythms on there. So you can imagine if that person was singing and they were playing this rhythm, that you don't have to just do what they're doing. You can actually experiment and try other things out. So. So that one there, I was looking at, I think I made it up actually, to be honest with you. I think it was, I just started playing, so 11. Yeah, down, up, 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 down, up, down, up, 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 down, up, down, up, 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 down, up, down, up. So look at 11 again. So it's down, up, 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 down, up, down, up, 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 down, A minor, down, up, 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 down, up, 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 down, up, F, G, now what I'm going to do now is I'll play, let me play number 18, which is really, but I'll do it with a rake. So if you look at number 18, that's just on the 3 and the 4, so 1, 2, 3, the 2 and the 4, sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and I'll do a rake. A rake is where I'm just going to let my nails drag across the strings, yeah? One, so watch what I do, you'll see it on this camera, the old Cordy cam. F, 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so that's going along, and now I'm going to play some arpeggios over the top there. And I'll just do 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and I'll keep it nice and simple and just play on individual 4 strings. I'll try and just go up and down. I say I try because I know what happens. I usually get carried away and start doing my own thing. So this is my arpeggio, just going up and down the strings. So that's a nice arpeggio, I can hear that in the background. I'll get on my other channel now. I'll turn that down a little bit and I'm going to add a percussive. So what I'm going to do this, I'm going to slap the... And I'll just do a thumb strum and then I'll slap. So I'm going to basically play on the first beat and then just keep a beat. Right, that's what I'll do. Right, so I'll let it loop round again. 1, 2, 3. Now we're on the last one. We're going back to C, A minor, F, G, remember. 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. It's quite nice now. And what I might do is I might hold the strings. I'm not even going to play a chord. And I'm just going to get my nails and get a clunky sound. I think I recorded that, oops. It's coming back round again anyway. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go so. Oh well. I'm having fun, Mile, so ignore me. A bit of reggae now. Go back to that very simple. So I've taken all that. There's a lot on there. There's about 20, 30, I don't know how many people. It went around ages, didn't it? I was having too much fun. You get the gist. You can hear it looping around. And I know you haven't got access to a looper, but you've got access to the songs on the playlist. And you can easily practice. And the other thing I think we did the other day, I'm probably making this video super long now, aren't I? Yeah, but that's okay. It's just all good fun. If you're still here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tune the A to a G. So I've got my C chord, A minor, which is up the top there. When I get to the F, there's my C. I think A would be here, but it'd be like an A major if I do it bar because it's tuned to a major chord. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically, I might just play an arpeggio and just do a little F and G. So I'm just gonna have a bit of fun. I mean, I am just winging this now. I am just experimenting. So I'm going to see what it sounds like with the old slideroonie over the top, like from my last video. Okay, so I'll do it on the 12 to start with. There's the A minor arpeggio, then the F. So I've got a C again. I'll record that. I was just trying it out. Now I'm going to record it. Oh, what? Okay, so I'll do that. I'm going to play at 12, go to 11 and 12 and play like a little Hawaiian thing there. You ready? 2, 3. So C. Then the F. Loop round, which I think I've gotten on a complete tangent now by having too much fun, and the slide is just something we did. But if you're learning the slide bits, you're learning those percussive arpeggios from all the other videos, you're learning them for a reason. You're learning because you want to be able to put them in your playing, and the whole point is with all these rhythms that we got here, these are just rhythms, but if you think about all the other techniques, percussive, just hitting that ukulele all of a sudden gave it a percussive life, made it sound really musical, interesting. If you've got one person in the group, I was gonna say band then, like we're in a band and we're touring, and if you got one person playing that percussive beat and then people are strumming on top of that, it adds something to it. If everyone's strumming the same thing but it's not quite right, or you're a little out of sync, because it is kind of impossible to get everyone exactly in time with the same rhythm, unless you're kind of like, you know, you're pretty dedicated to the metronome and you practice it a lot, and also everyone's in tune with each other. So let's be realistic. When we get together, I think we're going to keep the songs simple but make them sound good and get them in time, and it's the one thing that we probably missed out quite a lot from our Zoom sessions. And like I said, have a little bit of practice before we get there with these rhythms, and counting, and stick to those songs that you're familiar with, and I think it'll be a lot easier when we're in the group playing together. Anyway, that's me over and out. I hope you enjoyed this very long widdly diddly session, and I've been enjoying myself too much, so sorry about that. And I will see you again very shortly, and we will have some fun. Take it easy. Over and out.